Hey there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, and today I'm going to show you how to knit a flouncy scarf. I love flounces. My husband took one look at this scarf. I said, what do you think of this, honey? And he says it's flouncy. He says it's a flouncy-floozy scarf. And I said, you know what? I just love that name. That's what I'm totally calling this project, the flouncy-floozy. And you know what I love about the word flouncy? You can't be grumpy when you say flouncy. It's like, woo, flouncy, flouncy-floozy. Floozy is a fun word to say too. It'll just have so many negative connotations. It's too bad. So I'm going to show you how to make this today. It's very easy. You're going to use a pair of bamboo knitting needles and some ruffle yarn. I got the Red Hear Sashay from Walmart for $4.67 a ball, and it only takes one ball to make this project, and I've got it caught in my necklace. So let's just go to the table and I'm going to show you how to knit this puppy up in a couple hours or less. The video's not going to take that long. The video's like 10 minutes, so let's go. Let's knit something, okay? Awesome. Okay, here's our scarf that I've got almost completed. I'm going to show you how to cast on these stitches and how to get knitting so you can have a beautiful scarf like this in just a matter of a couple of hours really, or maybe even less. I recommend you use bamboo needles for this project. Bamboo is not my favorite, but I find the aluminum needles are just too slippery. So what you want to do, and this is the way your yarn will look when you first get it. This is the wrapper of what I used. I used the Red Hear Sashay, so don't go hating the Red Heart. This is beautiful yarn. This works just great. So what it looks like when it comes off the skein is just kind of like this kind of ribbon. And then what you want to do is pull it apart. Now I made a mistake the first time I tried knitting with this, and I pulled it apart like that and started knitting on that edge. It's actually twice as wide, so you need to make sure you pull it apart and you see like a big net. All right, it should look like that. And what you want to do is go ahead and pull out a bunch apart so that you'll be all ready to knit with it. So go ahead and just pull a bunch of yarn apart. This ball yarn was $4.67 at Walmart, and one ball will do a scarf. There are other brands too available at the craft store, but this is working just fine. It's the only kind I've used, so I really can't comment on the others. So what you want to do, there's two edges. You've got an edge that's got a metallic thread in it that's kind of looks kind of zigzag stitchy, and then you've got this edge that just is very netty. So what you want to do is start about 4 inches in from the edge, and you want to put your needle back to front through 6 of the holes. And that's how you cast on. You can go in the top hole or the hole right underneath. You might want to go in the top holes to begin, just so that you can really see what you're doing. And so that when you go to knit that first row, you know what is what's a stitch, and you don't end up increasing because you think you have 2 stitches there. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more. You can do more if you want a thicker scarf, but 6 really gives you a nice roughly thick scarf. All right, and then with your other needle, now my other bamboo needle is actually in that work. What you want to do is just knit as normal. So what I'm doing is I'm just sliding my needle through that first stitch, just like I was making a regular stitch. And then with my other hand, because I knit continental style, so I hold my yarn with my left hand, I am actually spreading the yarn apart and grabbing a loop and pulling it through. And then I'm going to slide off that first loop. Now this is really easy to do, but I would recommend it for beginner adults, but not necessarily for beginner children, because you do need quite a bit of dexterity for this. I'm going quite slow here so you can see in the video. Now I knit the first most of the scarf with aluminum needles, and the stitches wanted to slide all over the place. The bamboo needles are really a lot easier. If you don't have bamboo needles, you could use pencils. You could use plastic needles. They'll be a little bit less slippery than the aluminum. So just keep that in mind if you're having a really hard time knitting with this. Also, I use a bigger needle than what they recommend. The aluminum one here I have is a 9, and that's what they recommended on the wrapper for this, for making the ruffle scarf. But these bamboo ones are like a 10.5, and I think they are so much easier to work with. So here we're just completing our first row, and let me get that last stitch on there. And you can already see how it's starting to make that ruffle there. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so I'm actually going to pull that out, and I'm going to grab this, the long scarf that I've been working on. See, nice and long. Flouncy-floozy, the flouncy-floozy scarf. Make my flouncy-floozy scarf. Trademark, patent pending. No, not really. Okay, so here is how it looks when you've got a bunch on there. And what you do, of course, as you work, you're going to have to keep opening up that yarn, just like that. And then you go in and you make your stitches. You can go in the top the top one or the next stitch down. As long as you're staying in those top couple loops, you'll be just fine. Like here, this one, you can see how thick that stitch looks. That's because I went in the, instead of the stitch right at the edge, I went in the one right below it. So either way, if you want a more ruffly scarf, you can skip holes in between. So when I go to pick up a stitch, instead of going into the next hole I come to, I can go a couple holes down, and it will just give me a little more flounce. A little more flounce for the ounce. Oops, make sure you do a proper stitch there. And really, I mean, you're just putting your needle in and you're drawing loops back. It's very, very simple. The hardest part is just spreading out that yarn as you go, honestly. And just turn and keep on working. There's nothing difficult about this project, which is really great. Now I'm going to show you how to bind this off, because I think my scarf is long enough. And really, I think with the bamboo needles, you're going to knit a lot faster. I think I could have probably done this on a lunch hour if it was on these fat needles. But you know, it shouldn't take you more than 2 hours to make a scarf this size. So you want to make sure you have at least 3 feet to bind off with. I've got more than that, but I think this might be really fun for some scrapbooking, fishing scrapbooking pages, so I want to have a little extra left over for other projects. So what I'm going to do to bind off, I'm going to stick my needle in here, and I'm going to bind off just like I normally would, so hopefully it works, because you're watching it live, folks. And then I'm going to draw back a stitch and pull it over. I'm going to do that for 2 stitches. So I'm going to have 2 stitches on my right hand needles. Okay, now I'm going to go here with my left needle, and I'm going to lift that first stitch on my right needle over the one I just made. So now I've got one bound off stitch right there. It's kind of like underneath that stitch. So now I'm going to do that. I'm going to continue knitting one over and binding it off. So I knit it over, and I pull this older stitch off, and now I've bound that stitch off. So I'm going to do that for each stitch across, and it won't take me a couple seconds because it's only 6 stitches wide. That's what I love about this. It's a very easy project. Novelty yarn is so fun because you don't have to do a lot to it, and it looks great. It looks really great with those simple stitches. Binding off gives people is tricky for some people, so this is it's a good practice to get into, to learn how to do it well. Because really, there's nothing to it. It's just kind of, it's almost like a little reverse knit stitch, basically. It's like when you sew and you go in reverse for those last couple stitches. That's what your binding off is kind of like. Alright. Now, so you get to the situation here where you have 1 stitch left. Now, what do you do with that last stitch, you might be asking? Well, you want to cut your yarn, leave about a foot, and then you're going to simply pull this yarn through the loop. So I'm going to open that loop up a little bit, as big as I can. It's only going to get so big because, remember, it's just a hole. It's not a real loop. It's just a hole. So I'm going to pull that through. Now, these ruffles are going to hang down, so finishing in this is a breeze. You don't have to worry about it too much. What I'm going to do is kind of like a surgeon's knot. You could ball it up and stitch it in and spend time doing that. I'm not going to. So basically, you're going to make like a regular knot, okay? And then you're just going to pull that end through a few more times. Just going to keep pulling that end through that hole in the middle. And the reason why I would do this is because if there's some wear and tear and that gets pulled through, you're going to have a lot of loops that it's going to have to pull through before it actually will unravel your scarf. And this yarn is hand wash only, just so you know. So I hang that down like that. Looky, looky. It's all flouncy. The flouncy-floozy scarf. Look at that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you give it a try. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you love my video, subscribe so you don't miss any. And tell your friends. Share on your Facebook or whatever. Oh my gosh, I would be your best friend for life. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.